Hi everyone, I am back playing Kharkov battles, and this is Operation Star. So this is probably the largest scenario with the most number of turns. It's got 16 turns, but there's also a turn 0, which is sort of half a turn, and it has the most amount of counters. I've done the first half turn, which was the Soviets only, and the first turn. Basically the scenario, we're playing for, both sides are playing to take objectives, to hold them or take them. Sort of the key objectives, all urban objectives. So Kharkov, for example, here. I think it's both those two. There's one over here, I think, and that one there. And there's not a huge number of counters to start with, but there's quite a few reinforcements on specific turns. In the first sort of opening turn, a bit of backwards and forwards. Most of the Soviets just been able to push, and as you can see, it sort of starts off with this sort of line of Soviets and Germans. So it's pretty much straight away into the action. I would say the Soviets were able to push some of the German units back, and they're making some progress on their objectives. What I'll probably do, because it's 16 turns, I don't think I'll do a recap per turn. I think I'll do a recap sort of every other turn. Sort of depends on what happens in the game. So we are now at the end of turn number 3, and the Soviets are still not quite able to push through in this area just here. They are making moves towards Kharkov. There is a few German Axis counters that are just holding them back and being able to push them back. I have to say that both sides have taken quite a few casualties, and definitely there aren't a huge number of German counters outside of Kharkov and this area. They do have some more coming in as reinforcements, though. Saying that, so do the Soviets. I feel because of the freezing weather, it's definitely at the moment in the favour of the Soviets. Just done turn number 4, just to give you a summary. So the Germans have still holding Kharkov. The Soviets are approaching here. They've managed to push the Germans out of this city or urban area here. Sorry. This side, the Soviets have really encountered quite dogged resistance from the Germans. Just can't get past this area here, no matter how they try. This is down to dice rolls more than anything. And the same's pretty true in this area here. They just can't quite push the Germans out. And then on the bottom of the map here, they're making very slow progress. They are over the river. I'm pretty sure they will make a dent. The Soviets will make a dent here. The Germans, again, this is just simply down to the dice rolls, are just holding this area quite well, and the Soviets not being able to make enough quick impact. Just to remind, the Soviets really need to take this area just here, or they need to take sort of this area over here, really. This is the way I'm playing it. So at the minute, the Soviets are concentrating their efforts, edging their bets. Even though there's a lot of resistance here, it's obviously they're in this vicinity. The Germans have been able to reinforce into here, and it's quite a good some. We don't know what their strength is yet, but there's 3 counters there. So yeah, it's proven out. So that's the end of turn 4. Just looking at the future turns, there's a few events that happen after turn 6 that I'll need to double check the rules on what happens after turn 6. And there's quite a few more reinforcements to come, especially turns 5 and 6. And then a few later. So yeah, it's quite an interesting setup. Definitely at the minute it's too tough to call. I'm just looking over my shoulder at the casualty. The Germans have inflicted a lot more casualties on this than the Soviets have, but the Soviets are making headway. The Germans, on the other hand, have got to sort of stop them, and I would need to check the rules again. Actually, I'm pretty sure the Germans also need to try and take this area over here. So we'll see how it works out. Completed turns 5 and 6. It's quite interesting, especially turn 6 has been quite eventful. So the Soviets first, they have been able to push towards Kharkov, start to engage. The defending Axis forces in Kharkov. They have been stopped on this road here by these Axis here. They also have been able to start to mop up this area. There's still, though, this remaining counter here. And I'm just checking as I'm saying that, yes, they can still get supply. Yes, they can. And then they've pulled back and started to defend here, this bridge here, because the Axis have brought on some reinforcements here that are going to move up this road here and going to try and get to engage these Soviets here, maybe to this location here. Now, so what was eventful about turn number 6 was not only did the Axis get quite a few reinforcements, they also got some replacement points, which they started to use, and the Soviets had to roll for this counter here, which is now out of fuel. So all the sort of corresponding counters are now, you have to roll on another table every turn to see what happens to them. But this turn, for example, they were completely ineffective, so they haven't been able to engage the Germans, which basically means it's going to slow down their advance and their attack into this area here. So basically, at the moment, the Germans are kind of sitting tight and holding on and defending, waiting for these reinforcements to come in and start to engage, and then they'll flip that defensive into an offensive. The key part to this battle, as is the nature of this game, is going to be what happens here at Kharkov. The Germans are well defended in Kharkov. So yeah, we'll see how that kind of pans out. But yeah, really eventful couple of turns. Yeah, and it's surprising maybe not the right word. It's from us playing the game solo, the game is starting to swing back a little bit towards, I feel now, towards the Axis advantage. I don't think the Soviets were able, in my playthrough, were able to gain the ground they needed to have done. So it's quite interesting learning from my perspective. So a couple more turns in. We're about halfway through the game now, and okay, let's start with the Soviets. So the Soviets are still engaging the defending Axis here at Kharkov. Not been able to make any headway here. They have been able to move these. Is mostly infantry, and I was undecided whether they would go and attack and try and take the objective here, or whether they would probably go and focus on Kharkov, which is, I think, what they'll do. The Germans, the Axis, do, however, have a stack right at the top there that might come and reinforce, try and attack them from along this road here as they're moving across. We'll see. This counter here has given them the Soviets no end of trouble. Just can't shift it. I can't quite see. I think it's. Let's have a look what the counter is actually. It is. It's a Waffen SS Defuhrer. Look of it. And then we've got some engagement here. With this situation here, Soviets really are very, not in a good place. Effectively, the Germans have cut off their line of supply, or will do for the next turn. So this remaining sole stack, I think it's just on camera, will be out of supply. I think it's going to be very difficult for the Soviets to capture this area and take that objective there. Very, very difficult. I will be honest with you. I think it's also going to be difficult for them to take Kharkov. They need to open this road here, which is going to be tricky, and they need to also stop the Axis counters here, which I think is also going to be quite difficult. So it's definitely, the game's moving around quite a bit. I think at the minute, as the turns are going on, I feel that the game is moving more in favour of the Axis. But there are still quite a few turns, and there are, looking at the turn track, looking at the reinforcements, there are quite a few reinforcements, although it looks like the weather is going to probably more likely change to mud, and the Soviets some of the Soviet counters get an advantage in the freezing weather. They're going to lose that or they're not going to gain that advantage anymore. So that's going to, yeah, we'll see. Looks like air superiority also is going to be in the favour of the Axis as well. So the Soviets are going to get hit quite hard. We'll see. So we're now at the end of turn number 10, and the Soviets are advancing on this location here. They have been able to take part of Kharkov. They are going to face a lot of stiff Axis opposition. They are holding the Germans up here. They still haven't been able to take this bridge here. And the guards, the Soviet guards, have managed to burst into this area here and start pushing the Germans back. So this area is to play pretty much in broad strokes. The Axis have got some good defending in some of these locations here. They are able to bring up another stack here, and they have these two bridges here. We've got a few more turns left to do, and some more reinforcements as well. So we've just finished turn number 13. The Soviets have been able to take Kharkov, most importantly. The Germans are holding here. The Germans are also advancing on here. And the Germans are able to push back the guards and hold the Soviets at bay in this area here as well. So a few more turns and then the game will be finished. How it will end, I'll have to tot up all your objectives and stuff like that. But I think the Germans might be able to take Kharkov back. The Germans will probably be able to hold this area. I think the Germans will be able to take this. We'll see. So just finish the last turn and let's just have a look how things ended up. So for the Germans, actually let's start with the Soviets. So they did not own Kharkov. They were able to take Kharkov, and then the Germans took it back, but they still were able to keep some Soviets in there, and they were not able to take this area here, not anywhere near taking that area there. Same with this one here. I think that's just off the board, but there's another area there. And they were not able to take this area here, and they were not able to take this area here. So actually didn't take any of the key areas they were meant to. Okay, and the Axis. Let's have a look in the rulebook. He had Kharkov, lost Kharkov, took some of it back. Kept this one, kept these two down here, one of them you can't see, and kept this one over here, and the last one, which is just off the top of the map, this sort of area here, captured it and then lost it again. The Soviets were able to bring in some reinforcements actually, so that's kind of how it's ended. Who I feel won, I think the Germans did really, although actually taking back still another turn, and I think the Germans would have been able to push the Soviets out of Kharkov. Yeah, quite a close game, even though it seems that the Soviets really didn't do very well. that's not how it felt playing it. If I'm being honest, I just weren't able to, or I didn't push them hard enough on these, especially these objectives down the map here. Just weren't able to break through the German lines, German defences, and make moves on those. So let's finish up with some concluding thoughts. So finish the scenario. Very enjoyable. 16 turns. Took a bit longer to play than the other two scenarios. What was interesting was that sort of the beginning few turns, I thought the Soviets were going to easily have this, and then it sort of turned, and it was that turn number 6, and it was partly because the Germans had a massive amount of reinforcements come through. It was also that they had some replacement points which you can use to sort of build your units back up. And then a few turns later, the freezing weather stopped, and the Soviets had been able to take advantage of that up to that point. And when all those sort of things happened, it really moved the battle back in favour of the Axis, I felt. The scenario has quite a good element of drama. It's got a good narrative to it. I definitely, having played it, and it's always interesting to play a scenario and learn from it and think, okay, when I do it next time, what would I do differently? I just needed to push the Soviets way harder. They really need to make really quick gains in those early turns, and the Germans, I think, broadly speaking, I probably would maybe change a few things up, maybe be a little bit more aggressive with them. I was playing them quite defensive, and at times I could see opportunities and didn't quite want to I didn't think they would take the gamble, but that could have paid off. So they could have secured more strategic points within the map, I think. But the biggest learning for me, the biggest takeaway for me playing that scenario was, you've got to be pushing those Soviets really hard to make moves on those objectives. And as the Axis player, you're going to feel on the back foot from the get-go, but that is going to swing around. So yeah, it was great, and I really, I love playing these sort of games for the theme and for the narrative that plays out. And this scenario had plenty of those in buckets. So yeah, very enjoyable, and hope it was fun to watch. And thanks for watching as ever. Thank you.